Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. If you guys know already, as you know, Stardom just returned back to Korakuen Hall for another Stardom Nighter in 2025 in Korakuen for the month of September. This one features, of course, many title matches. More specifically, of course, the Future Belt, the CML Japan Women's title, the High Speed, and the Artist Belt, and also other special matches as well. And then, of course, we have WWE Evolve. Now, the main event features, of course, Jackson Drake makes another championship defense for the Evolve Championship. He's not only facing one person, he's facing two others, Brooks Jensen and Kiana Carver. But the real question is, will Jackson Drake remain as champion, or the other two opponents will finally dethrone him? Well, that's something we will see what happens, and there were other matches that took place as well. And then finally, of course, AEW Dynamite continues the residency at the 2300 Arena. As you know, we're on the road to All Out to Toronto, Canada. As we probably see, of course, many matches. Hangman Page takes on Josh Alexander. We even have, of course, a street fight between Toni Storm and Skye Blue. But the main event, of course, is a $500,000 10-man tag team match. The Death Riders, John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio team up with the Young Bucks that take on the current AEW Tag Team Champions, Brodido, and the current AEW Trios Champion, The Ops. So that's going to be a very interesting match to watch. And then, as always, we'll cap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have been said. Let's get to it. So, let's begin with Stardom. Alright, Stardom. As you know, they return back to Korakuen Hall for another Stardom Nighter. So this one has, of course, 4 title matches, but we'll get to that. Now, they do have a one pre-show match before the main card. It's a three-way match. We have Emma Maishima versus Akira Kuragani versus Azuki. Now, of course, some of you can tell by the factors. Now, Azuki, as you know, she has more experience than both Maishima and Kuragani combined. So you can tell that's how it's going to go down. But the real question you ought to ask yourself, which one of these two, of course, lesser wrestlers may look like take the fall? Well, you can tell the Kuragani has been gaining a bit of experience, but not yet to the full potential. Well, Maishima, well, she is one of the latest batch of wrestlers that made her debut not too long ago, and you probably can tell she most likely take the fall from there. And that's exactly what happened, because it was Azuki with a Boston Crab, a move that we have seen many rookies take on, of course, by the veteran wrestlers. And of course, Maishima had no choice but to tap out. Now, we begin with the main card. Now, you can consider this match as a preliminary match. First, we have Kyoko Furuzawa teaming up with the youngest members of the Cosmic Angels, Sayaka Kurara, this year's winners of the Cinderella tournament, and of course, former Sendai Girls Junior champion Aya Sakura. They take on EXV, Rian, Hanako, and Waka Tsukiyama. Now, for those who probably ask yourselves, why did I call this match a preliminary match? For those who don't know, Aya Sakura and Sayaka are now the new challengers for the new Blood Tag Team belts. This is something that many fans have been looking forward to it, because as you know, the current champions is Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama. Many fans have been, not only internationally but also in the Japanese side, are hoping that they will love to see both Aya Sakura and Sayaka team up. Some people say that this could be the next step that Aya Sakura needs now that she lost the Sendai Girls Junior World Championship. And most likely we could see that. But the real question, will that happen? But first things first, you have to deal with this match. You got to remember, there's a lot of history going on between Hanako, Waka, and of course, Sayaka and Aya in many aspects. For those who may not remember, Aya Sakura and Hanako came out of DB together in March of 2023, and you probably know who was the senpai at the time was in fact Waka. Of course, Waka had a hard time trying to get Sakura to join, of course, EXV, but it failed because she chose Cosmic Angels, and of course, she and Kurara actually joined at the same time. But the real question is, who's going to get the momentum until they reach the day they have to face for the new Blood Tag Team belts? Well, unfortunately, I have to say Kurara stood toe-to-toe to someone who's a bit more experienced than her, but at the same time, bigger. She tried to spear her by any means necessary, but unfortunately, Hanako was able to defeat her by applying, of course, the the JP Coaster, the move that she inherited from Himeka, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Hanako wins the match for her team. Now, our next match, I have to say this was a very interesting one. We have Mi Vida Loca, consisting of Izuki Aoki, Rina Yamashita, Bozilla, and Suzuki taking on the members of God's Eye, consistent of Koyaka Kotatsu, Lady C, Amisuri, and Saki Kashima. Now, for those who did not see, there was a shirt that Saki Kashima had where there's somewhat of a poster where she faces against Bozilla. Now, of course, you all know when it comes to Kashima, well, she'd rather be running to the hills. Run to the hills. Well, that's exactly what she did when she confronted Bozilla. Of course, she had to run away. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's who she is. God's Eye put up with her nonsense ever since she joined. And of course, they take great pleasure to see her take the win when she's knocked out. But unfortunately, that did not do anybody any good, because apparently this match ended in a double countout after 12 minutes and 60 seconds. So we were almost close to a time limit draw. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bozilla once again wants to get her hands on Kashima. Well, we'll just have to wait and see when that happens. Now, our next match, we have the other members of God's Eye, consistent of Tomoka Inaba and Rana Yagami, taking on, of course, the Cosmic Angel de facto leaders, Saori Anu and Natsupoi. Now, some of you may ask me, why do I call them the de facto leaders? Well, it was later foretold that both Natsupoi and Saori Anu, who are, of course, were part of the core membership they are going to remain as co-leaders, and it's been done before. We've seen that already. I've seen that with Dragon Gate, with Maximum, with of course with Naruki Doi, and of course Masato Yoshino. So they were the two leaders of Maximum and Dragon Gate. So you probably ask yourselves what it's going to make the difference on this particular match. Well, we know that, of course, both these ladies do have, both Rana Yagami and Tomoki have a background in karate, and that tells it all. But when it comes to wrestlers who've been, you know, winning matches with better experience, you know that's going to happen. And it was, of course, Sairyu Anu with a Temps Tundra onto Yagami, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our first title match is the Future of Stardom Championship. Yuri Him versus Hina. Now, if some of you saw this match, you noticed what she was wearing. Yuri Him was wearing the same wrestling gear that Mina Shirakawa had. Now, some of you may question, is why, if she's wearing a Mina Shirakawa outfit, why did she join EXV instead of Stars? I mean, look, she made her perspective to join, but we know that in her recent months she's been practicing with Stars a lot. But it's really interesting to also to think about Mina's past. For those who remember, Mina actually joined Stars when she started out in Stardom. Well, not as a rookie, but more a wrestler who just made her way through there. And that kind of sets it up. I don't know if she's trying to join Stars to follow in her footsteps and maybe one day leave and do something else. I don't know exactly what Yuri Him is. But I have to say, Yuri Him, she has, to me, has grown up a bit more. And I think that her training with Stars had really, really paid off. But unfortunately, that didn't do any well for her because she ended up losing to her when, of course, Hina applied the Frog Splash. And I think this match names victory number 7. But the real question we ask ourselves, will Hina break her twin sister's record? That is unseen. If you guys probably ask yourselves, what is Rina's defense record? Her defense record is 15. And I wouldn't be surprised. You got to remember, Hanan had the most defense records until her little sister, Rina, does it. I wouldn't be surprised if Hina does that. However, of course, like any other type of challenge, someone has to step up to issue it, and that person turned out to be Hanako. So, most likely, we will have that happen. I don't know when or where, but I highly doubt it's going to happen in the upcoming New Blood, because, of course, Hanako has the tag team belts to defend. So, we'll see where that goes from there. Now, our next match, we have the members of Stars, Momokoko, Saya Ida, and Hanan teaming up with B. Priestley to take on the members of Hate, Azusa Inaba, Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and Saya Kamitani. Now, some of you may have this ideal in your head when I mentioned B. Priestley. You all know her history with the members of Hate, formerly known as Oedo Tai. So that kind of, you probably would think that B. Priestley will turn her backs on Stars. I don't know. We know that recently there was like a bit of a connection between both Hanan and B. Priestley. It's still unclear what exactly is going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if she does join Stars. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that her returning will elevate them, because, as you know, B. Priestley is one of the popular gaijin wrestlers in Stardom, and that would make absolute sense. But what really makes it cool is the fact that Hanan was able to pick up the win onto Ida with the Hanan special, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the CML Japan Women's Championship. Dark Suleeta defends her belt against the Bear, Koguma. So this is a very interesting match where she is going to make her first singles title match. I don't know if she ever had that. That's the thing, I don't know. I know she was tag champions with Azuki, but unfortunately, the match was pretty good until, of course, this match was called off. Referee's decision due to the fact that during a tornado DDT, Dark Suleeta injured her shoulder, so the match went up and Koguma won the title. However, of course, Azuki issued a challenge to be the first competitive challenger. And of course, it's no secret that Koguma and Azuki, despite the fact they're tag partners, that they always bounce off each other from their fighting because of their history. You got to remember, these two ladies know each other when they first started out at the Stardom Dojo, and they were roommates as well. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next title match is the High Speed Championship. Yuna Mizumori makes another attempt against Mei Seira. Now, we know she lost maybe once or twice when it comes to this match. And of course, you would tell that Yuna Mizumori had evolved a little bit. She has improved in her style. I mean, not only she brings out the speed in her, but she combines it with, of course, with the powerhouse, because she does have a powerhouse build. It's kind of like you're looking at a version of Samoa Joe, who was in the X division, but much of a female version. But that plays out pretty well. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after 10 minutes. However, of course, Mei Seira was not satisfied with this, and she wants to have another opportunity for them to have another match. And of course, she turned to the president of Stardom, Toru Okada, and asked them for permission. However, another person decided, like she wanted to make the challenge, but apparently it was already been decided, and that person is Waka. Waka has made a play for this belt recently, but she's decided that I'm going to let you guys have your match, but after that, I'm next. But I think I would love to see Yuna Mizumori finally become a champion in Stardom. She hasn't held a championship yet in Stardom, but we'll see what that happens. Now, our main event is for the Artists of Stardom Championship. Now, for those who are not familiarized with this title, these are the trio belts. Now, this match was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately it did not happen due to the fact that Rina had a concussion during a New Blood event, and it had to be canceled, which sucked. And now they get another opportunity. So Rina teams up with Fukigen Death and Konami. They take on the members of Neo Genesis, Miyu Amasaki, Azumi, and Starlight Kid. Now, of course, it's no secret that certain aspects of each other takes place. Not to mention, Azumi knows Konami too well due to the fact that she used to be they were once members of Queen's Quest until Konami joined Tokyo Cyber Squad and then joined Oedo Tai. And then, of course, Starlight Kid as a former member of Oedo Tai. Well, you know how that probably works. But of course, when it comes to hate, you know they're going to use dirty tactics to pick up the win. But unfortunately, this match ended with Konami choking out Starlight Kid, and just like that, it was over. Brand new Artists champions. And not to mention, now Hate has the most championships. They have the Goddesses belts. They have the red belt. What else do they have? And now the Artist belts. The only person who does not have a championship is Momo Watanabe, so we'll see what happens. However, of course, new challengers has risen, and the challengers are the current star members, Momokogo, Sayaida, and Hanan. But what's interesting, of course, Rina, as you know, is trying to prove that she will surpass her big sister, of course, Hanan, as you probably can guess. And Rina knows it too well, because in some ways she still feels that she is still in the shadows of Big Sister, but we'll see how that rolls up. But until then, we are officially done with Stardom. Let's move on with our next review, and that is, of course, WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. So, as you know, the main event is a championship match, but we'll get to that. Now, our first match, we have Carly Bright versus Layla Diggs. Now, of course, you know, this is not an important match that we should pay attention, but we've always been impressed how these girls evolved, in their wrestling craft, how much they have grown, how much they have gained momentum to get their big win, or win in general, if you know what I mean. Now, of course, a part of me would have thought Layla Diggs, in my opinion, would have picked up the win, but nope. Carly Bright was able to pick up the win when she applied her move known as Bright Side, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, as you know, while the celebration was happening, Carly Bright's tag team partner and friend, Kendall Gray, went up to celebrate. But however, Kendall Gray has one thing in mind that she needed to deal with, and that, of course, is the current Evolve Women's Champion, and that is Callie Armstrong. That's been in her sight. Now, of course, she called her out for a shot of the title. Callie is not afraid of it. She knows that people will be gunning her. She's not an idiot. She's not someone, you should underestimate. So of course she was going to let it happen until out of nowhere, Rich Holland and of course Tate Wilde just showed up, started beating the crap out of each other. But the Prime Minister of Evolve, of course, Stevie Turner, was not going to let this go on unchecked. So they decided to allow Rich Holland and Tate Wilde to have their match. Now, of course, Tate Wilde, he looks like he was ready to prove a point because, as you know, Tate Wilde has already recently lost 2 matches. But Rich Holland was trying to tell him, hey, you're nothing but a big old loser because you're not been knocked down. But Tate Wilde was saying, look, I may have lost 2 matches, but at least I get up and I keep on fighting until I get the big win, which is true, you know. But Rich doesn't see that. But unfortunately, of course, Rich Holland took him out with a gut-wrench powerbomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, if you guys are a big fan of tag teams in general, you know there's always impressive when there's teams teaming up. Well, Marcus Matters along with Eric Rourke, it seems like they want to team up more often with each other. And it seems that they're willing to go a farther distance to what we're going to see. I mean, we already seen that with Cappuccino Jones and Jack Cartwheel and a few others. So I'm kind of curious where these guys are going to go. Now, as you know, in recent weeks, we've been seeing Itzgal and Jamar Hampton. They've been teaming up, been working out, trying to show up some muscle and flex. So basically, they've been going back and forth. So it looks like looks like we will see them teaming up as a tag team. So this is something new that I don't think we expected. Now, before our main event, there was a commotion in the back, and we saw Wendy Chu choking out Kendall Gray. For those who may not remember, not too long ago, Kendall Gray defeated Wendy Chu when she outmaneuvered her when she was choking her. So it seems now that Wendy Chu is like, I'm not going to let this slide for losing that match. But the real question, how much would this affect her in her championship match against Callie Armstrong? So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, our main event, is the Evolve Championship. We have Kiana Carver versus Brooks Jensen versus Jackson Drake. Now, of course, technically Jackson Drake doesn't have to be pinned in this match, which, of course, Jackson Drake has to worry. But the obvious question is this: who is going to be most likely to win the match? I mean, Kiana Carver is making a statement, so is Brooks Jensen. But of course, when it comes to Jackson Drake and the rest of the Vanity Project, they will do to ensure that this belt remain in the project when Bryce Stott showed up, once again interfering. And this allowed for, of course, Jackson Drake to finish off Brooks Jensen, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Jackson Drake retained the championship. And of course, Vanity Project are happy that this is what they're supposed to do. Now, of course, in the back, Stevie Turner was displeased with the fact that this happened, but she decided to see what's next from there, knowing that someone has to step up to take on Jackson Drake for the title. But unfortunately, apparently, she received a message from Wendy Chu, something about an I Quit match. I'm not sure, but we'll see what Wendy Chu does, so I'm kind of curious. But as of right now, we are officially done with WWE Evolve, so let's move on with our last and final review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, final review, AEW Dynamite. As you know, they continue with more of the residency at the 2300 Arena. So a lot of things is going to happen. Now, of course, we begin with Bryan Danielson making his way out. As you all know, he is now taking full-time position as a commentary. So basically, Tony Schiavone was not there. So it was just him along with Excalibur and Taz. Now, the first match is a singles match between Hangman Adam Page and Josh Alexander. And of course, you know that Snake of the Grass, Don Callis, and of course the rest of those idiots were going to be there to ensure this match goes in Josh Alexander's favor. However, of course, Hangman was not an idiot. He knows. Now, for many of you may not remember, Josh Alexander was part, of course, of the Owen Hart Cup tournament, but unsuccessful, and he lost to Hangman. So this is more of a retribution for that match. But unfortunately, it didn't do any well until Hangman had an opening and took him out with a buckshot lariat. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Now, of course, Hangman called out Kyle Fletcher, as you know, because as you probably know, well, not, he didn't call him out. Basically, he was talking about MJF, about this whole contract, title stipulation, and crap. And then, of course, Kyle Fletcher was asking when he'll have his title match. But, of course, he told him that he'll talk to a man-to-man without Don Callis being there. So, in the ways like this, he tells him that you remind me of me 6 years ago when I challenged Chris Jericho for the AEW World title. But a part of him is telling him that he is not ready for it. And of course, Kyle Fletcher's like, I'm not going to wait that long. But of course, he told him this: I'll give you the title match under the condition you leave the entire Don Callis family behind. So of course, it had to be accepted. But of course, Don Callis, being the little bitch that he is, he's probably not happy with it. But what choice does he have? Because in the ways like Hangman's telling him, you are good, but you're being a coward behind Don Callis. So we'll see how that's going to happen. Now, of course, MJF, as you know, he is not done with Mark Briscoe. So basically, he is waiting for him for whatever stipulation he's going to throw him when they meet each other in All Out. So I can't wait. Now, the Young Bucks, as you know, had an interview with Renee in the catering section, of course, trying to make the most of it. Of course, nobody wants to hang out with them. Not even Brandon Cutler, who we haven't seen for a while. But however, Jon Moxley told them that, nothing has changed here. Nothing. So he feels that, no matter what, they need to change AEW for good, as they normally. But so they told them that they can have the money, so you can split it up to yourselves, $250,000 a piece. So that's exactly what happened. Now, our next match is, of course, a women's tag team match. Mercedes Moné called in the favor. As you all know, Mercedes will face off Riho at All Out for the TBS title. And her tag partner is someone who knows Riho all too well, and that is, of course, Emi Sakura. For many of you that may or may not remember, Emi Sakura was the one who trained her. So that plays out. And, of course, Riho teams up with Alex Windsor. So you probably can tell that Mercedes Moné will try to show them why she is who she is, and she'll make sure that she gets all the wins as possible. But in the end, of course, what Alex Windsor managed to separate Mercedes Moné by applying a sharpshooter onto her, and of course keeping her by the ring ropes. Even though they were not legal, Mercedes was helpless to help Emi Sakura when Riho put her in a single leg crab hold, and just like that, Emi Sakura had no choice but to tap. Now, Renee went to talk to Ricochet about his upcoming match against Shelton Benjamin. Now, he did say that he was going to do a gentleman's agreement by leaving the Gates of Agony over there, but I don't know. A part of me would think that he would not accept the terms of agreement. So we'll see where that goes. Now, FTR, as you know, they're unhinged. They've been running on their mouths, as you probably can guess. They're not happy with everything that's been happening in their lives. Not to mention, they have to deal with Christian Cage and Copeland. And then, of course, Cash decided to get in the face of a fan. And then, of course, the Cameron guy got involved. And, of course, security tries to separate FTR and Stokely because, as you know, things have not been going well for them recently. So that's what's been happening. Now, before his match against Ricochet, of course, Shelton Benjamin is saying that if you're gonna honor the gentleman agreement, maybe I should. But of course, like I said, I don't know if Ricochet will honor it because he is feeling like he's being disrespectful by people, and that's exactly what happened. Now, when it comes to Ricochet, you all know that he'll try to find ways to pick up the wins. Not to mention, he even pulled out the scissors. But luckily, Shelton Benjamin actually stopped them, and then he broke them in half. Now, he would have picked up the win, but of course, I knew Ricochet was lying to his teeth. Of course, the Gates of Agony showed up, and Tail Leonard took him out, and then Ricochet pinned him. But of course, the Hurt Syndicate were not going to let this kindly. Now, of course, Ricochet thought he had win until Shelton Benjamin got the last life by super kicking his face. And then, of course, we all know we're going to see these two teams face off each other at All Out. Now, Hook, as you know, recently we've been seeing him, but he put out a video promo about, of course, that he appreciates how Joe and the rest of the ops will have his back, but he talked about maybe going solo or not. Now, we don't know what that means. Some people speculate that maybe he'll join the Death Riders. I'm not sure, but we'll see where that goes. I mean, there's been people talking about that. Now, of course, Tony Schiavone had a talk with Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher over, of course, the upcoming title match in All Out. But Kyle Fletcher told Don Callis to trust him, that this will happen and he'll make sure this title returns back to the Don Callis family. Now, our next match is a Philadelphia street fight. Toni Storm versus Skye Blue. Of course, Toni Storm had all the plunder to use. You can put someone out. And the one thing that was crazy is that Toni Storm tried to do the hip attack, but Skye Blue moved out of the way, and she used a staple and stapled her butt, which is hell, you know. But of course, you all know there was going to be a lot of stuff going on in the ring until Toni Storm applied a Storm Zero on top of chairs, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And then, of course, we did see the other members of the Triangle of Madness. Tekla and Julia Hart showed up, and then Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter showed up. All hell broke loose out of everybody, as you know. So, apparently we did see a bit of a miscommunication, that sort of thing, but I don't know what's going to happen. Now, Renee Paquette did an interview with Willow Nightingale. As you know, Willow has some unfinished business towards Marina Shafir, so that's what happened, until Harley Cameron shows up with her usual antics about the guitar. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, it seems Renee knew the song, what to play, so we'll see. Now, our main event is the 500K 10-man tag team match. We have the Young Bucks teaming up with the Death Riders, Moxley, Yuta, and Castagnoli. They take on the Ops, Shibata, Moxley and Hobbs, and Brodido, the current tag team champions. So you probably can guess this whole thing was going to go out of their minds. But however, one thing that was interesting is the fact that somehow the Bucks were able to outmaneuver everyone. They were able to pin Bandido and use the ropes to win the match. And of course, Brody King was not going to take that kindly. Now, I would not be surprised by any means necessary if the Bucks decided to cash in an opportunity to challenge Brodido for the tag belts in All Out. That's something we could definitely see. But however, of course, the Ops were being now targeted by Death Riders. Darby Allin showed up to get his hands on Moxley, but out of nowhere, Daniel Garcia showed up, and now it seems he has joined the Death Riders. But of course, Darby Allin was beaten up down, but he refuses to stay down. But of course, Moxley is happy with now things are going his favor, thinking things will go back exactly like he planned. But the real question is, will this work? I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see until that happens. So as of right now, we are officially done with AEW Dynamite. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events. First, we have the GCW updates. Now, we do have the Emo fight taking place on October 11th in Dallas, Texas. We have Piper Goodish will take on Jack Knight. I don't know who these guys are, but that's exactly what they mentioned. And then we have, of course, the Havoc Slime season on the 18th of October in Detroit. Toy Rex will take on Max Drayton. And then finally, they return back to Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, for You Wouldn't Understand on the 7th of November. Now, no anybody who's been announced for that particular event has been mentioned, but as we go, we'll probably get more of that little by little. And then we move on, of course. As you know, RevPro will be doing their own Grand Prix called the Trios Grand Prix. So basically, it's a trios tournament, that sort of thing. And it's going to happen between September 20 to 21st in Barcelona, Spain. Now, one team has been announced, Los Tranquilos de Japón, which is the combination of Tetsuya Naito and Bushi teaming up with Trent Seven. So that's going to be one team. And another team has been announced is CPF, which is the same team that team up with Blue Panther on the anniversary shows with RevPro. So it's great to hear from them. And then finally, for anybody who is local in San Diego or in California, in Southern California in general, Daga will be in Tijuana, Mexico on the 8th of 11th for The Crash. So stay tuned for more for that. Now for our developments, we want to give congratulations to Myron Reed and Killer Kelly. They are now officially engaged. For those who do not know, Myron Reed and Killer Kelly do have a daughter together. And as you all know, Killer Kelly took some time off since she got pregnant and, of course, been on maternity leave. Now they're getting married. So congratulations, guys. Now, as you know, Bandido is now a 2-belt champion. He is the current ROH World Champion and the AEW World Tag Team Champion with Brody King. So he mentioned that he would love to see, of course, both him and Brody to collect belts, be belt collectors as well in tag teams, which is kind of interesting. We already seen that with FTR, but the real question is, how far can we get it behind them? I mean, look, they could go win tag team belts in CML, probably New Japan, RevPro, wherever they're at. So I'm kind of curious about that. So we'll see. So stay tuned for that. So as of right now, we're officially done with everything. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have ROH and TNA. So those are the top priorities. Now, I haven't decided yet if there's anything. As you all know, I'm trying to catch up with the latest Yoshi promotions, so stay tuned for that. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. So, as I said, top priority is ROH and TNA. That's it. So, until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.